Thank you. Thank you all for being here with us this morning. We were just talking backstage about how important collaboration is, and I'm not going to spend any time covering their bios. They are tremendous. Both of them have very deep international experience, both in academia and in business. So they are very, very resourceful. So find them if you want to learn more. But today, our conversation is really going to center on three things. It's going to center on collaboration, on creativity, and on courage. And I'm going to start with Teresa because what she has done is a very brave leap into the airline industry from academia. Mm-hmm. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about this because, we've all woken up to the importance of sustainability, which I'm not sure if that is the right word, but you understand what I mean when we talk about sustainability. It's basically, we take a business practice and we think about its impact on the planet and we think about its impact on human health. And how as industries, we were basically blind to that for a very long time. And we've woken up to the fact that we all play a role in how we steward our businesses and our industries and our companies every day in a way that is mindful of its impact on planet health and human health. And the airline industry is one that has come under fire because of the tremendous impact that it has on climate, which means that there are also a million ways that an airline can really start to think about sustainability and impact. So it actually is not surprising to me, and I think it's actually a very smart move by Iberia to hire someone from academia who has very deep roots in this to then bring to that industry. So Teresa, I would love for you to share a little bit about that transition for you from going inside academia to now leading sustainability at one of the largest airlines in the world.
So thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. I'm so glad to be here today. For me, it was a challenge, of course, moving from academia, as you just said, all my life doing research and teaching at the university. But it was a very interesting move as well. Challenging, yes, because the aviation sector is quite challenging itself, but very interesting because of what you just said. Aviation has traditionally been working on efficiency since the very beginning, for other reasons perhaps, because they want to save fuel, which means saving costs. But at the same time, it also impacts on the emissions as well. But since I joined, I must say that they've been trying to do a great effort into understanding the concept of sustainability, how important it is, and the role aviation plays within all this great challenge. Currently, the aviation sector only amounts around 2-3% of global emissions, but that doesn't mean that this sector is not concerned about the problem. And the fact is that we are working very seriously towards a more efficient aircrafts and investing on new technologies. And in fact, the IAG group, to which Iberia belongs, was the first group of airlines in the world to commit to be net zero emissions in the year 2050, which is very challenging for an airline because the technology that is needed in order to be sustainable, it's now starting to be possible. But there are things that we can do, and we are already implementing that, and we are investing a lot of money, around $900 million already into sustainable aviation fuels, which is the key technology into sustainable aviation. So I'm not gonna, I can keep
yeah,
talking,
no, that's a great start. And I think you've given us a perfect segue to Javier's work. His work is, I would say, very much at the tip of the sphere for innovation. And he does a lot of work around the world in Latin America and Africa, Spain, Paris, where the company is based. And as we were talking backstage, water, we don't survive a single day without water. Water is so incredibly important. And when you have these conversations around impact and sustainability, often it centers around carbon. And the term carbon tunnel vision has come into play, where it's like, oh, we only talk about carbon and we're ignoring all of these other things on the side. Water, to me, is the North Star. We don't have food without water. We don't have life without water. So water absolutely is the North Star. And Javier and his team have had a tremendous focus on water and impact. And I would love it if you could share a little bit about that, specifically on the water piece, and how global that conversation is to you as we really talk about water and elevate, this critical piece of the conversation.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invitation. Glad to be here with you and with Teresa. It's a pleasure for me. Well, Veolia, we are 200,000 people worldwide, and in Spain we are a big company, it's 22,000 people. We operate mostly 50% of the private water in Spain, and we reuse 50% only for other different use, 70% for agriculture, and it's a huge topic. Water reuse for innovation, and how we can expand our innovation in water is a challenge. It's a challenge for us, for a big company and the big environmental company worldwide for us, and how we can collaborate with other different industries, not only agriculture. They need a lot of water, and we have the technologies and we have the solution to put in place. Nevertheless, the problem sometimes is how we can collaborate with the industrial clients, with regulation, with our political rules we have in the different contexts we are working. For example, in Spain, we have different collaboration between the public water sector with the industry to reuse water for the refineries, for oil and gas, for agriculture sector. Nevertheless, the scarcity of water, for example, in Spain is going up. And the problems we have is not the same problem we have 20 years ago. Now we are working to try to protect our asset, our wastewater treatment plant, to implement some environmental service to try to secure the water we can have in the inlet in the wastewater treatment plant, to secure the quality and the quantity we are going to have in the outlet. Because at the end, we provide service to the citizens, and it's a natural service we need to develop. And key is innovation for us.
So, we all come together at South Summit, and it's a conversation around venture capital, investing, technology. That sort of is the umbrella that covers all of us. And I think when you really sort of lift that off a little bit, you see all of these incredible opportunities. And, in the agricultural space, which is where I operate, there's ag tech and there's food tech. And I think water technology, what we can do to conserve water, to look at water conservation and water infiltration across all of these industries, is so important. And one of the things that I love about South Summit is it allows for a conversation of three people that you may not ever find working together before in any way, suddenly on stage together having a conversation of the ways that we could perhaps collaborate. And I think that's always the thing that we should be looking for, is where do we find this common ground? How can we work together? Where is there an opportunity to collaborate? And often you will find, and this is where my focus is that it's food, because we can all share a table together. And I think the work that Teresa is doing, you think about the airline industry, and every time you're on a plane and the opportunity there for food, we're always fed on these planes. And then you think about what Javier is doing with water and waste. And if you think about food waste and what we throw away, whether we're sitting on an airline or the work that he is doing, the mindfulness of how we actually share these resources and these assets together. And so I think for so many of us, we're sort of waking up to the fact that we were a little bit asleep. We took a lot of these things for granted. We took water for granted. Food security, that is an increasingly important topic around the world in every single country, not just in developing countries. And what that means is that we all have to be a lot braver with the work that we're doing. We have to learn how we can be brave with our lives and brave with our leadership. And so I'm going to start with Teresa, because I think it is incredibly brave to move from academia into the airline industry, which has a very traditionally male background. And so I want you to share a little bit about the stuff you had to do sort of internally, as you lay awake at night thinking, I'm about to make this huge career transition. what did you have to do internally to be brave enough to make that transition? Because that is a very, very big transition.
It is a transition, not just, but because, of course, mainly because being a woman and then becoming head of something in an airline, I was quite a thing. But also, I must say, and adding to that, it was difficult for me, I guess, because my background as an academic, being academic, woman, and not being an engineer as well, because I studied law. So that was hard to have a voice, a strong voice in the company, because, of course, sustainability is critical. And now the management committee understands, of course, but previously they didn't really understand why was this so important, and a voice coming from someone that, to be honest, I didn't know anything about the industry. So talking to someone that is all his life, all these people, these men, have worked on the industry, being engineers and having been working on the industry for their whole lives, and then me stepping inside and saying, hey, hello, you have to listen to me. That was hard. That was difficult. But for all the women in the room, I think key is to be patient and also understand that some narratives take time to be understood, and you have to understand the other one, and little by little you conquer, little by little, and you have to be patient. And I think, it didn't took that much time, to be honest. So I've been working in Iberia 4 years already, and counting the COVID pandemia, that's not a lot. And I can tell that they now listen to me much more, that they understand how important this is, and now the industry, and of course my company, is changing completely, and the challenge is so big, and not only because we're talking about the environment, we're talking about the impact and climate change, but also other things, because this transition is not just about the environment, it's about everything, the society itself.
Right.
So everything comes together and makes sense as well to have everything together.
Right.
And that's something that I'm also trying to incorporate into this conversation, because my role, and that's something that has changed within the company, sustainability in Iberia is not just the environment or the reduction of emissions and the management of waste. It's also about measuring and managing our social impact. And that's also something so exciting and changes completely the narrative that we are now trying to explain our society. And I go back to collaboration. This needs to be understood as well, not just by the industry, which is now starting to become a reality, but also to our partners, those that we work with, other industries, other companies, and then the government, and of course our clients and the society in general.
Yeah, it makes so much sense listening to you, because I think, if we were to go around the room, it's all of the skills that are in this room are required right now as we really begin to surf this change that's in front of us. And that is all that is certain, is change. And I think, we sort of had this way of doing things before, and we're waking up and we're realizing we can't keep doing them that same way. And so it's an invitation to participate in where can you lend your talents and where can you lend your expertise so that you are part of this solution. And as Teresa was saying, it's like when you sit in those rooms and you're having those conversations where it's uncomfortable, you feel that tension, there's a tension.
It's kind of exciting at the same time.
There's a tension there. And I think one of the most important things, instead of being the one to always be talking, is to think about the person on the other side of the table and what are they feeling? What is that person experiencing? What might they be suffering as they are asked and called to do something different. And how can you collaborate and how can we do it together? And I think when we are building anything, an airplane, a building, a factory, there is scaffolding that goes around it. It supports that infrastructure as it is built. And we're the same as people. We need that supportive scaffolding around us. So when you are stepping into these leadership roles, who is it that you can call on or that you can call or that is there for you as support? Because it helps to sort of share that load, to share that responsibility together. So Javier, as we think about change, and you would have seen this across so many industries that your company works with, where have you been the most surprised in your experience? Have you had a moment, a meeting where something just happens and you want to call everyone and say, oh my gosh, this just happened? You know, that moment of just pure surprise when an industry or a company really surprises you and takes a big step forward.
Well, in that case, I'm going to change a little bit from water to the waste side. I'm a civil engineer, I'm not allowed, and I work a lot in the mining industry before in the same company, and something was very special and very different. What we are doing today is the recycling we are doing with the Li-ion electrical batteries. For example, we are recovering all 99% of the material we have inside of the EV batteries. This is something we are doing in France, in North America, in Germany, in UK. And it's something very, very different than the others are doing, in very innovative. And this changed a lot because we mix different cultural people, and I think linked with the passion Teresa mentioned, I think something we need to integrate in the organization to implement innovation is the culture, to share the culture with the people. For example, in other place, I come from a company who acquired Veolia years ago, Suez. In Suez, for example, we didn't focalize our efforts in terms of to implement hydrometallurgical experience, technologies to recover the raw material we have in the EV batteries. And we come to Veolia and we see our competitor have a very strong position in terms of hydrometallurgical process, and we share these experiences with all the different cultures come from the company they acquired, and we internationalize our capability. And now today we are the big company who recycling more than 1,000 tons per year in terms of EV battery. And it's not only to recover the materials you have in the batteries, to incorporate the materials you get and to extract from the battery to the initial process for the car manufacturer. This is something changed a little bit from the water I speak before, but this is something we are doing and something very special and very linked with innovation.
So you think about, like, if you really think about waste in any company, in any house, in any industry, there is so much opportunity to repurpose something, to recycle something, to reuse something. And there are so many models that are being developed around that. And if you think about the data around that, a lot of the conversations at South Summit are around technology and AI. You know, where can we use AI in our businesses to better inform us, to help us make smarter decisions? And, you know, in the food and agricultural industry, the work that we do, a lot of it is on soil, because soil really is a database, and it has water, and it has carbon, and it has nutrient density, and it has organic matter. And it also serves as a sponge, and it can literally draw carbon down from the atmosphere and hold it when soil is healthy. And I think one of the greatest assets of any country right now is healthy soil, because then it is producing food products that are healthy for the population, and it also is serving as a carbon sink. So it's holding and storing that carbon and storing and holding that water, which are such precious, valuable assets to all of us.
And I would add to that that soil not only brings that, but for the industry, for our industry, brings another opportunity with the sustainable aviation fuels, because some of the technologies that are now being implemented and developed need waste from forests or waste from urban waste. And so it's critical for us to be able to manage that well, efficiently, in order to push that market forward, the market of SAF, and because it's key for the sustainability in environmental terms of our sector. So again, soil resources and collaboration towards a more sustainable aviation.
Yeah, and I think, just this example, I mean, traditionally companies have operated sort of within their industry and they've stayed in these silos, and those silos are so dangerous, and they're missing this incredible opportunity for innovation and collaboration across industries. So it's like, would anyone have thought that the airline industry would suddenly be talking about soil? I don't think so. 5 years ago, I don't think anyone would have been talking
it's so
about
new.
It's so new, and so it's this amazing opportunity to work together. Javier, I think for you, where do you see that same opportunity? Where do you see the greatest opportunity for collaboration and innovation?
Well, I think the one opportunity is with my colleagues from Iberia to collaborate together to reuse soil, to implement in SAF, but we have different collaboration between in the water, in the waste, in the energy. In the water, the link we can develop between our public assets with industry to reuse, for example, what we are doing. I mentioned before, in terms of ways to recover the food waste, the organic waste, to implement biogas, biomethane solutions to recover energy, and to try to be self-sufficiency. That is something we are doing in France with our landfills. We have a commitment to be self-sufficiency from energy in 5 years, to don't only use green energy to reuse in our landfills, or in other different aspects. I think the collaboration is now open for all the different operators, environmental operators. We are very open to collaborate between the industry and us, and there are collaboration for everyone, I think.
Okay, so as we wind down our time here, I'd like to ask each of you, what advice would you give to someone who is sort of standing at the very front of a very brave decision in their career? What advice?
Take it.
Yeah. And then beyond that, what else would you say?
Well, just don't look back. Just go and take it. And if it doesn't work well, doesn't matter. You'll learn something, and then you can take the next step and take the next opportunity. I don't think, sometimes it takes some risk to do great things. Easy things are not risky. Mm-hmm. So I would say, take it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Don't think about the risk you can take if you are younger. We have a lot of younger people. I left Spain a lot of times ago to develop my background and my experience international. I didn't take any risk to do that. Only my thought I can share with the people is take it. Don't think about the risk you can take, and go ahead and implement actions to try to transform what we can do in the environmental market.
Yeah, I would add to that too. I think we have our comfort zones. We have what's familiar. It's safe. And the magic does not happen there. All of the magic happens outside of our comfort zones. And if you think about fear, because I am sure you had a night where you were like, oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? And you've had moments where you're like, what am I doing? You have these moments where it's just fear. And you think, what am I doing? And that can be like a seatbelt that just locks you in. And it keeps you strapped into that comfort zone. And so to recognize that fear is part of that growth, and that fear actually is right beside you. It's part of change, and it's part of the growth. And once you can sort of honor it for the role that it plays, but not let it govern you, it's not a compass. It's not a compass. Fear is a terrible compass. To put it in its place where it belongs, and really to be brave with your life, because that's the invitation, I think, to all of us, is to really be brave with our lives.